So I was thinking, since this week's Torah portion is Devarim, the Darash this week could be about the importance of telling your story. Because, this week's portion is all about Moses telling the story of how they got to the promised land of the people just before they take possession of it.
We could do that, but let me pitch this idea to you. So we go to Sinai, right? To the actual place where the Torah took place, right? And we actually, let me look at my note. We could cast Harrison Ford as Moses because, he's getting old now, right? That could work. We could get robes, like, we could probably buy some in Israel somewhere, Figure all this out, and what do you think? Is this something that we can work with?
One problem, we only have a $3 budget, and I already promised to take everybody out for churros afterwards.
Okay. Thanks for the churros, by the way. What do we have to work with then?
Well, actually, I was thinking, why don't we just each of us tell a story of how God has been good for us and led us through things. What about that?
It's cheap. I like it.
Sounds good to me.
And we'll just start off with me saying, Shalom, I'm the Messianic Torah dude, and this week's Torah portion is Devarim.
Lights go down when we hit the stage. The heart of the crowd begins. Raise the people in the chairs all take a stand. We're rocking and rolling for the son of man. Rocking and rolling, yeah.
Devarim, or words, comes to us from Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1, through chapter 3, verse 22. And this week's Torah portion is all about stories, all about Moses reminding the people of where the Lord has brought them through, their past interactions with the Lord, and everything like that. In Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 3, it says, "In the 40th year, on the first day of the 11th month, Moses spoke to the people of Israel according to all that the Lord had given him in commandment to them." And this is the beginning of essentially almost a book-long speech that Moses gives to the people, telling them the story of where they came from, how they interacted with the Lord in the past, and everything like that. Stories are a powerful thing to teach us. And they're a powerful thing to reach people. Yeshua used stories all the time. Often they're called parables. They're fictional stories that would usually have some type of hidden meaning or some type of moral to it, and teach us something more about the world and things like that.
So, at a time in my life when I was trying to follow God, but I was more tied to the ways of the world, I had collected my tithe, and I decided to spend said tithe. And so I had this money in my wallet, I was about to spend it. So this is already starting off like bad story, I know. But so I get to this location, I had to make a phone call, but this is before I had a cell phone to just da-da-da. So I set my wallet on the top of my car, and at that time I was driving this little 96 Camaro, and those roofs are like that, right? So if you set it on the top of the car, if you drive off, it's going to go off the other side one way, or just fall down straight where you could see it, right? Well, I had driven off with my wallet still on the top of my car, and I was like, looking for my wallet everywhere, and then I remembered. You set it on the top of the car and you drove off. But what's interesting about this is, not only did I not see it if it fell down, but it should have blew off the back of the car because I had to go on the up ramp. Like, this ramp to get on the highway was like, whoop! And I was like, man, so I didn't see it go in front. I was looking for my wallet this whole time, and then I remembered that, and I was like, considered it gone. One day I get to my car and was gonna wipe the windshield and clean it off, and I looked down, and under, like someone took the windshield wiper, lifted it up, opened my wallet, and set it under the windshield wiper, stuff down, and I've been driving like this for 2 weeks. And I was like, what the? I pulled it out. My tithe, exactly all of it, is still in there. So I look at this situation like, God, whoa, this is your money anyway. Here, take it back, because I don't even want it anymore. So God is a miracle working God still. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
But then we have this interesting passage. In Mark chapter 5, Yeshua encounters a man who is possessed with multiple demons. When he asks the name, the demons say, Legion, for we are many. But after Yeshua casts out those demons, we get this in Mark chapter 5, verses 18 through 20. As he was getting into the boat, the man who had been possessed with demons begged him that he might go with him. And he did not permit him, but said to him, Go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you, and how he has had mercy on you. And he went away and began to proclaim in the Decapolis, or the 10 cities, how much Yeshua had done for him, and everyone marveled. So Yeshua didn't say to this guy, go and study theology. He didn't say, go and learn all of the ins and outs on how to debate and how to convince people. He didn't say, go and write a 3-point sermon where you tell them what you're going to tell them, you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. He said, go and tell what the Lord has done for you. And that is such a simple thing, but it's such a powerful thing that we can do. Do you follow the advice or the commandment that Yeshua gave to the man who was formerly demon-possessed? Do you go out and tell what the Lord has done for you? Psalm 118, verse 17 says, I shall not die, but I shall live and recount the deeds of the Lord. This is somebody saying, I am going to tell everyone what the Lord has done for me in my life.
A few years ago, my car died on Broadway Extension. Died, no fixing. Unless you replace the motor. And I didn't have the money for that. And so for about 2 years, I was carless. And at the time, I was babysitting, and I was able to walk to my job. And then when that job ended, I was kind of stuck at home for a while, and I was going stir crazy. And to get a job, you need a car, and I needed a job to get a car because we could not afford to buy me a car. So I did what I thought I could do. I thought, well, I can walk to Wendy's, and I could try to make some money to buy me a car. And so I worked there for 6 months, and I hated it, but I was faithful. I was trying to do what God wanted me to do, and do it the smart way, do it the wise way, and not have any debt. And so then at the end of 6 months, I said, Lord, I just can't work here anymore. It's not for me. It was not a good situation. And so I quit that job, and I just had a little pile of money, about $4,000, and I thought, well, I want to get something that's going to last. I want something I can depend on. Well, I was having trouble finding something that good for $4,000. That's all I could save. And it turned out that in a few months, 2 months after I quit that job, my cousin just gave me her car when she bought a car. And that to me was God's, He was rewarding me for being faithful and trying to do it His way, and He was just rewarding me for no reason. And I'm always just still grateful to this day. And so I've had that car now for 2 years. Every day I thank God when I get in it. So that was a much better gift than if I had just gone and bought one. Because this one I'm thankful for every single day. And even better, the Lord put it on my heart to go to Israel. And guess what? It was just that amount that I had saved from working at Wendy's. And the Lord sent me to Israel, so then He'd really bless me for that. And that is my story of how good our God is.
And it's easy to be scared and be nervous because some people aren't good storytellers, and some people get nervous about talking to people and get nervous about opening up. But remember what the Lord said to Moses in Exodus chapter 4, verses 10 and 11. But Moses said, O Lord, I am not eloquent, either in the past or since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech. Then the Lord said, Who has made man's mouth? Who makes him mute, or deaf, or seeing, or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? You see, it's not a matter of being a great speaker. It's a matter of sharing what the Lord has done for you, because no one else has your story. The Lord has come through for you in unique ways that other people need to hear about. When my wife and I first got married, we were doing ministry in New Mexico, but we owned a house in Oklahoma, and we had to find some way to pay rent and pay a mortgage at the same time because we couldn't afford to sell the house. But because the Lord was looking out for us, the house never sat a whole month vacant. We were always able to find renters, and the Lord protected the house because there were no major repairs or major changes that needed to be made to the house. That whole time we were gone, that was over 6 years, almost 6 years. So I always thank the Lord for the fact that He provides even when it's providing renters. And sometimes you need to hear about, to remind yourself how much the Lord has come through for you in the past. So what are some stories of how the Lord has come through for you? Let me know in the comments, and if we gave you a laugh, give us a like, and if you learned something, give us a share. I'm the Messianic Torah dude. Shalom, and stay in the Word. The lights go down when we hit the stage. The start of the crowd begins. The people in the chairs all take a stand. We're rocking and a rolling for the Son of Man. Rocking and a rolling. Yeah, yeah. Rocking and a rolling for the Son of Man. That's absolutely going in the blooper reel.
Oh man.
Okay.